The sun beat down on dusty Harmony Gulch, a small town nestled among the rugged hills of the Wild West. It was a place where life was hard, but folks looked out for each other. Right in the heart of Harmony Gulch stood the busiest spot in town, Sarah's General Store. Sarah wasn't just the owner, she was the heart of the place. Her store was packed from floor to ceiling with everything a pioneer family could need: flour, sugar, bolts of colorful cloth, sturdy boots, and even shiny new shovels. Sarah herself was a sight to behold. She wasn't tall or loud, but she had a spirit as wide as the prairie. Her eyes, the color of warm honey, missed nothing. She knew every customer by name, and often, what they needed before they even asked. She worked from dawn till dusk, her hands busy restocking shelves or measuring out goods. People trusted Sarah. They trusted her prices, her advice, and most of all, her kind and brave heart. Running a store alone in the 1800s, especially in a town like Harmony Gulch, took more than just smarts, it took true grit. And Sarah had grit to spare. One sweltering afternoon, just as Sarah was tidying up a shelf of canned peaches, the familiar jingle of the bell above her door announced a new customer. But this wasn't just any customer. A tall, dusty figure stepped inside, bringing with him the smell of horses and distant plains. His hat was pulled low, hiding most of his face, but Sarah could see the scruffy beard and the worn leather of his chaps. This was Jedediah Stone, a cowboy known more for his quick temper and a string of petty troubles than for honest work. Jedediah had a reputation that traveled faster than a tumbleweed in a gale. He'd been known to stir up dust in saloons, cheat at cards, and generally make life harder for anyone who crossed his path. His eyes, when he finally lifted his head a bit, were cold and sharp, darting around the store as if sizing up every item, and perhaps, every person. A hush fell over the few other shoppers, who quickly gathered their goods and hurried out, leaving Sarah alone with the unwelcome visitor. Jedediah didn't speak right away, but his presence filled the small store with a heavy quiet, like the air before a thunderstorm. Sarah, however, stood her ground, her gaze steady, waiting for him to make his move. The silence in the store stretched, thick and heavy, broken only by the buzzing of a fly near the window. Jedediah took a slow step forward, then another, until he stood right in front of Sarah at the counter. His hand, quick as a rattler's strike, went to his side. In a flash, a dark, heavy pistol was out, its barrel gleaming dully in the dim light of the store. He pointed it, not quite at her face, but at her chest, a clear threat. "The till," he growled, his voice rough like gravel. "Open it, all of it." Quote. Sarah's heart gave a little thump, but her face remained as calm as a summer pond. She had faced angry customers, broken machinery, and the occasional prairie fire, but never a gun pointed directly at her. Still, she didn't flinch. She looked past the shiny metal of the gun to Jedediah's eyes, trying to find something, anything, behind the coldness. He waited, his knuckles white around the grip of the pistol, expecting her to tremble, to cry out, to quickly hand over her hard-earned money. But Sarah just looked at him, her gaze steady, not moving a muscle. The air crackled with a tension that could almost be tasted. The cowboy's eyes, previously hard and cold, widened ever so slightly. The name, spoken so calmly, hit him like a bucket of cold water. He knew that voice, that name. It was his full name, a name he hadn't heard in years, especially not from a stranger. And then, the second part, his mother's maiden name, a name only those closest to his family would ever know. His grip on the pistol loosened, just a little, and the barrel dipped, no longer pointing directly at Sarah's chest. Confusion clouded his face, replacing the anger and determination that had been there moments before. He blinked, trying to make sense of what he'd just heard. Who was this woman? How did she know that? His mind raced, searching through old memories, trying to place her. The surprise was clear on his face, stripping away the tough cowboy facade he usually wore. He looked less like a dangerous outlaw and more like a boy who had just been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. The air in the store, which had been thick with threat, now held a strange mix of disbelief and a hint of shame. Seeing the flicker of recognition and confusion in his eyes, Sarah pressed on, her voice soft but firm. Jedediah Stone, she began, her gaze unwavering. Your mother, bless her soul, used to come into this very store. A kinder woman never walked the earth. She'd talk about her boy, her Jedediah, with such pride. She always said you had a good heart, even if you were a bit wild. She paused, letting her words sink in. Do you think she'd be proud to see you now, Jedediah? Standing here with a gun in your hand, trying to take from honest folks? She taught you better than this. She taught you right from wrong. I can almost hear her sighing from up above, heartbroken to see her son headed down such a dark path. Sarah's words weren't angry. They were tinged with a gentle sadness, a disappointment that cut deeper than any shout or threat could. She painted a vivid picture of his mother, a woman who had poured love and good lessons into her son, only to have him stray so far from them. The cowboy shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting away from Sarah's steady gaze, a clear sign that her words had struck home. The heavy gun, which had seemed so menacing moments before, now felt like a burning coal in Jedediah's hand. With a sigh that seemed to carry all the regret he felt, he slowly, deliberately, slid the pistol back into its holster. The metallic click echoed loudly in the quiet store, a sound of surrender, not just of the weapon, but of his hardened front. His head was bowed, and his usually pale cheeks burned a deep red. He couldn't meet Sarah's gaze, feeling the weight of his actions and the sting of her words. He, Jedediah Stone, the tough cowboy, was caught, not by a sheriff's badge or a faster draw, but by the memory of his mother and the shame of disappointing her. He cleared his throat, the sound rough and unsure. I'm sorry, ma'am, he mumbled, his voice barely a whisper. I didn't mean no real harm. His apology was clumsy, not what he was used to saying, but it was honest. The shame was plain to see on his face, in his slumped shoulders, and in the way he fidgeted with his hat, which he had finally removed. The air in the store was no longer thick with fear, but with a surprising quiet that offered a chance for something new. Sarah watched him, her expression softening. She saw the genuine regret in his eyes, the deep shame that twisted his features. This wasn't the hardened outlaw the rumors spoke of, but a lost soul who had forgotten his way. Instead of calling for the sheriff or scolding him further, Sarah did something unexpected. She reached across the counter, not to strike him, but to gently place a hand on his arm. Jedediah, she said, her voice warm, you look like you haven't had a good meal or a proper night's sleep in weeks. My kitchen is just through that door. There's a stew simmering on the stove, and I can set you up with a cot in the back room for the night. No questions asked, no payment needed. Just a chance for you to rest and think things over. Jedediah looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. He had expected anger, perhaps even tears, but certainly not such an offer of kindness. It was a gesture that spoke volumes, showing him that she saw beyond his rough exterior and his bad deeds. It was an invitation to a different path, a path of understanding and forgiveness, rather than the harsh justice he might have deserved. The warmth of her hand on his arm was a stark contrast to the cold steel of the gun he had just put away. Life in Harmony Gulch settled back into its familiar rhythm, but with a new layer of respect for Sarah. She continued to run her general store, a bustling hub of daily life, where folks could find everything from needles to horse feed. But now, her store was known for more than just its well-stocked shelves. It was known as the place where a tough cowboy had found a path to change, all thanks to Sarah's uncommon courage and even more uncommon wisdom. Her story became a whisper of hope in the Wild West, a reminder that kindness could be stronger than a gun, and understanding more powerful than anger. People didn't just come to Sarah for supplies. They came for her quiet advice, her steady presence, and the comforting knowledge that she saw the good in everyone, even when they struggled to see it themselves. Sarah, with her clever mind and big heart, remained the unwavering heart of Harmony Gulch, a true pioneer woman who proved that courage wasn't just about fighting, but about healing. Her legacy wasn't just in the goods she sold, but in the lives she touched, and the quiet strength she brought to a wild land.